Hi there. Welcome to this week's Rise Above Noise, where each week I have the honor of shining a spotlight on someone in our Rise Above Noise community who's making a real difference, who's helping others with their business growth. So if we haven't met yet, let me introduce myself. My name is Susan Finn. I'm a digital marketing strategist and have been with my company Rise Above Noise for the past 15 years, where I work with transformation creators, right? So that's energy healers, light workers, coaches, teachers. I'm guiding them in their own personal roadmap for their digital marketing journey. And together we get to create a system for showing up, because marketing is basically showing up. And when you can show up in a way that feels generous and in service, you're going to show up with more consistency. And that way, people who are already looking for you can find you. That means that your business gets to grow with ease and flow. So this week, I'm talking with my good friend, Chantelle Davis-Gray, who is a super talented Squarespace website designer and graphic designer as well. I asked Chantelle to talk to our community about how we as business owners will know that it's time to hire a designer for our websites. Now, I know so many people are struggling with trying to figure out what they can do on their own. When do they hire a professional? When do they try to figure it out on their own? Which professionals should they even hire? And one of my best takeaways from the chat you're going to hear was the realization that when we're super clear on who we serve and we want to attract, and when our website makes that really easy to understand, then we get to protect our time and our energy, because we're only going to get on discovery calls or spend time talking to aligned prospects. We're not going to spend extra time on people who really are not our ideal clients, right? We want people to get us and get what we do. I really think you're going to enjoy Chantelle's insights and her wisdom, and watch for those freebies that she offers as well. All right, let's get right to it. And do the Wednesday morning Rise Above Noise thing, which is now it's every other week or so I will have experts in, but it's all in the spirit of answering questions. I've been listening to Brendan Burchard, if I'm saying his name correctly, high performance guy. There's something about him. He's so compelling, and it's not about his habits, and it's not necessarily about his marketing, and maybe it's about his motivation, but his philosophy of giving and giving and giving and being a resource for the people who need to hear you. I mean, if you guys aren't following him, he just gives out so much great free content that eventually I won't be surprised if someday I say to you, I'm being coached by Brendan Burchard, because he's just so compelling that way. And in Rise Above Noise, I know that in the Facebook group, people are so generous. Like, if you haven't gone in there recently, go in and look at the threads. And in particular, if you look at what they call guides now, they used to be called units. If you look at the guides, every once in a while, a question comes up, and we get such gold for resources for people, how to decrease your stress and anxiety, how to stay focused. And so so now every Wednesday, I want to answer a question. So if you have questions, I have the link. I'll share the link in the group. I'll share it on this video, so that you can go in and pop your questions into that sheet, into the Google sheet, and I'll make sure that we find an answer for you. So today we're answering the question, when is it time to hire a designer? And let's say in particular for your website. Now, my friend Chantelle is here, and I'm going to read her official bio, but I do want to tell you that I took her Impact on Deck course, which is different than what we're talking about today, but I couldn't let our time pass, and I was afraid I'd miss it if I waited to the end. Her Impact on Deck course is fantastic. I know so many people who are creative, on the verge of creative, but like need that little help to express their creativity, which is what Chantelle did for me, and have an idea in their head for a deck of cards. Is it affirmation cards? Is it inspiration cards? Is it motivation cards? And so when I said to Chantelle, well, I don't really know, she's like, oh my God, Susan, you do those accountability prompts every week. Why not make a deck of cards out of them? And her course helped me figure out exactly, like, it is so step by step. If you know Chantelle at all, you know that she is so detail oriented. You are never going to miss anything, right? So
True.
exactly like how to make it, how to leave the edges, who to order from, what it's going to, like, all the things. So check that out if you even have a little bit of an idea of a deck of cards. So that's my little commercial.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, let me read you as soon as I find it. Let me read you our official bio. Had it open a second ago.
Too many
My
tabs.
goodness. Here it is. Nope. I'm gonna have to open it up somewhere else. Here it is, you guys. Thanks for being patient. It's been a morning. My friend Chantelle Davis-Gray is an expert when it comes to designing with purpose. She specializes in helping change makers with brand design, website design, and custom card decks, as I mentioned, so that you, right, so they can skyrocket your confidence and proudly share your work, right? Sharing is marketing. I'm just going to say that in here, right? Like sharing is marketing. Share your work, grow your business, and create real change. Chantelle and I are the same. We work with transformation creators, and who we work with, we're not the same, but with who we work with.
Yes.
Chantelle's here
Absolutely.
to do more than just design. She's also here to serve as your go-to guide, a trusted collaborator, and biggest cheerleader. When Chantelle is not designing something gorgeous and action inspiring, you can find her heading out on a nature walk with her love Trish and her adorable puppy Leo. And when I asked Chantelle, what is your superpower? This is really good. I think this was not surprising, but interesting to me. She said that her superpower is compassion and reducing overwhelm. And before we go into the question, when's the right time to hire a designer for your business, I'd love to have you answer that like, how did you decide that that was your superpower, Chantelle?
Yeah, I know. Like that question, I had like so many answers, and then ultimately I went back with my gut. So for me, I think that's what underneath it all, like that's what it's about. Like, yes, I absolutely love designing, and I'm, to toot my own horn, I'm great at it. But underneath design, when it comes to actually like working with the humans, I have so much compassion. Like this is not my first business. So like I've done businesses before. I never forget all the feelings that come up in the beginning and then in the middle. Like at every stage of business, there's mindset stuff, and it's not easy. And I never lose memory of that. And so I always have compassion for whatever stage of business someone is working in, and just really like the humanity of what we're all doing. So compassion on every level. And then the reducing overwhelm comes from, it breaks my heart when I talk to someone that wants to be doing amazing work in the world, but all the things are getting in their way. And so they're not taking any action.
Yes.
And so it's like, well, no, because like my brain just like organizes things innately. Like I'm a Virgo. That's what I do. I organize and just simplify. And not everybody has that skill. And so when I see someone that is stuck, I'm like, no, let me help you. It's not going to be that hard. We're just going to do one thing at a time. We're going to go step by step. And then by the end, you're going to have an amazing website to sell your cards, to sell your service, to do whatever the thing is. So it's like, it gets the good work out in the world. So that's where those two things come into my
Well,
work for me.
I see that in so many ways for you too. Like I follow you on Instagram and your stories, like that would be the word I would look for, is compassion. Like that I would choose for you is
Thank you.
compassion, right? That
That's
like
like
when you look, right?
amazing.
It's amazing. But I think there's another way that we might be similar is we understand the energy, we understand holding people in a container of support, but we
Yes.
also have that analytical, let's
Yes.
follow the processes, like do the things so that you can move forward. We understand it's hard. We'll hold you, we'll hug you, we'll do all the things.
Exactly.
Here's a nice cozy blanket with some chamomile tea. But on the other hand, get the shit done,
Yes.
right? Like here's
Exactly.
how.
Exactly.
You guys,
Yes.
I've known Chantelle, gosh, I think probably 5 years or so. We've been in a
I think
monthly
it's even be
accountability
even
group,
longer.
maybe longer. And this is what I love about when we have our sessions and we're talking about, all the business things, but she always has like, oh, well, I'm working on a new onboarding. I'm working on a new system. And I know that that's because a lot of times we'll get into the design thing, but this is just like me talking
It's a
right now.
fun
So
conversation.
the
Yeah.
conversation. So I know that many of the people that I talk to when we talk about what to send for emails or what they're going to share on their posts, they're like, well, I don't want to schedule out ahead of time because I might want to be in the moment. And those are great. Like organic in the moment posts are great, but
Right.
you've got to it'll be to your benefit to have those scheduled posts out there so that you can clear up that worry space so that you can be more creative. And so to
Totally.
your point, when you give a schedule for your website and you need to have this to me and you need to have that to me, right? That lets that kind of like sweep that part of your brain out so then the creative part
Yes.
can come in when they have the
Exactly.
conversations with you.
Totally. And it holds them accountable.
Right. Well, that's what a lot of
Like,
us as creatives are missing. Yes.
yeah, and myself included. Like, that's why I have coaches. That's why I hire people, because I need that external accountability. So,
Yes.
yeah, totally.
Okay. So I've been in business for a little while. I maybe did my own website, made a nice little Wix site or Weebly site or something. And I'm like, okay, ready to go bigger. There are lots of options, first of all, on where to
Yes.
spend your next level, right? So you've worked with somebody, maybe you have accountability buddies, maybe you have a coach, and what is coming to you is, I need to up level my website, or I need a website.
Hmm.
And you might just go in there and throw some stuff up there. I can usually tell when someone's done their own website. And that's okay up to a point. But when you're ready to up level, how do I know, Chantelle, that I'm ready to hire a designer, to make that
Yes,
investment in a designer?
absolutely. So I think before I even answer that, I just want to remind everybody for why having a well-designed website even matters. And what it boils down to is that you want your website to be doing some work for you. So again, to your point, sometimes when you're first starting out, maybe you don't need it to do all the things because you're still figuring out all the things. But after that point, you want your website to be explaining your services. You want your website to be able to be scheduling calls for you. You want people to be able to sign up for your email list without you literally manually like writing their email address down. And your website is open 24/7.
Mm.
So as you're growing, you don't necessarily want to always be spending your time doing all those things. And once you're at a certain, I would say, even like months into your business, you don't have to be too far into your business for this. You want to be getting aligned leads, right? Like, yes, of course, we love to talk to everybody, but our time is a limited resource. And so when you have a really great website that's working for you, your dream clients are coming in because the non-dream clients are realizing that they're not dream clients. Like they're self-selecting out. So you can spend more time watching Great British Bake Off or taking a walk in the woods or whatever fun thing you like to do because you don't have to be spending as much time talking to the people that aren't your dream people. So, yes, the common times that people should think about getting a professionally new, well done website is when you're going through some kind of big pivot or change in either your services or in who your clients are. Um, if you need an upgrade in functionality, sometimes you're doing a new website for the look, but also you are adding some new functionality. You're adding Acuity or Calendly integration. You're adding store capability to take, money for your package. And if you're feeling like your website just is not actually doing work for you, then that's the time. If you're ashamed of your website, like if you're the person that is not telling people about your website because you don't want them to look at it, that is like the big red screaming neon flag to get help. But all those other things are maybe more subtle signs that you need one. And then a caveat to think about is there are some kinds of businesses that I do think need a better designed website earlier on. And those are like the visual creative businesses. So things like photographers, interior designers, florists, designers, because they're all visual industries. And there's something kind of subconscious that happens where we associate how the website is done with how that visual work will be done. Like, because it's part of the package, right? Like those industries, all of them have portfolios on their website because you need to show the work you're doing. And that matters like from day one, more so than maybe a coach. So like I've worked with quite a few florists, and like one recent one has a very young clientele. So like their entire website is like white and airy and spacious, and it goes with the kinds of florals that they design. On the other hand, I've worked with another florist who works with quite a lot older, wealthier, preppier clients. And her website does not feel airy, white, la la. It has like some heft, it has deeper tones, it's more grounded. And those two are very different clients. And that takes intention to design those things differently. So for those kinds of clients, I think it's more important way, way, way early on to get like a really well-designed website. For people like coaches, therapists, healers, that kind of stuff, you need a website, but the visuals don't quite communicate that same subconscious, can't even find the right word, but I think you know what I mean. So for those businesses, I think that's more about what is your website actually doing for you? Are you meeting with the right kind of clients? Are you getting people signing up for your emails? All that kind of stuff, and or new offerings. So like I worked with a client years ago who was a doctor, like an MD, like doctor, like PCP. And then she actually pivoted to becoming a health coach and a speaker. So like she really needed a new website, like those are totally different things. So like maybe your pivot isn't as dramatic. Maybe it's more like I'm going from group to one-on-one or vice versa or something else. But when you are going through a change, that's a good time to get an up-leveled website, because it's like it helps you feel confident in what you've decided to make this change, and it helps you step out there and like shout it to the world. I'm going to pause because I feel like I just talked a lot, so I'm going to have a sip.
It was so good. And I think those two examples are really good. The visuals, the florist, the photographer, the designers, of course, are going to need to have a lot more and different than the other people that you talked about, more like well, I guess those are service oriented, but more like we're just talking, right? We're not providing.
There's no thing.
There's no thing. So if I can ask you a question, I bet you have more to talk about this, but the question is, how'd you figure that out? Like, how did you figure out those two? I'm fascinated with the story of the two florists. Right. One is very spacious, open. The other one much more like, it sounded like rich and
yes, that's the word.
How did you decide that would be the case for those two florists?
That is such a good question. And this is honestly, to get vulnerable, this is one of the things that made me not create Impact on Deck for so long because I thought, how can I explain this to people? Like, this is just what I do. Like, but eventually I did figure out a little bit that doesn't get, I can't explain everything, but I think this is a good place to start. And I mentioned this in Impact on Deck, but this is also how I start when I'm working with a client, is to think about how do you want someone to feel when they're on your website? And so I ask my clients that because like they know their clients better than I do. And so if airy light client says, I want my clients to feel like how they're going to feel on their wedding day. I want them to feel like a light floating, princess. I want them to feel light is the only word I can think of right now, but almost like floaty and like buoyant. And you're just like, I'm in love and these are my flowers. My clients sadly don't usually sing to me, but I
I'm
sing to
glad that
them
I
on
got that.
occasion.
I
Yes.
appreciate that, Chantelle.
And then the other clients, would say something like, well, I want my clients to feel like I'm trustworthy, like there is professionalism, like they a good investment, like there's more depth and richness, and it's more about the like the light fluffy feeling and more about what they need in order to be able to make this investment and that kind of thing. And so those are two very different feelings. And so I start there. So let's start with like the floaty people. I think to myself, okay, well, if I think about feeling, light and princessy and in love, what kinds of things come up for me? So then like I'll do like a brain dump. Okay, well, I think of like clouds and sparkles and tulle and I don't know, whatever else. On the other hand, I might think of, for this particular client who has a very preppy, her clients are very preppy, like I think of like boats and, popped collars and marinas and mantles and, like that kind of stuff. And so like, even as I'm talking, I'm sure in your mind, you can start to think and imagine like how those two things would feel different. Like I'm not going to put anything dark colors on that light, airy, I'm in love website. On the other hand, if I make the needs to feel trustworthy and solid, if that was all light and airy, that wouldn't feel that way. It needs some like wood and like deep green and groundedness. So that's kind of how it starts. And I think those are just two very good, like it's a fun way to contrast how same industry can be so different.
And it's interesting how you can service people in the different industries. But here's what I was picking up and also from knowing you is that you're very intuitive. Right. And I know that
that's
at
the part I
first,
can't explain.
Yes. And that you have first, of course, you're going to have a discovery call with somebody and discuss it. And then they have to fill out a good amount of homework. And so you're going to get like, there's something about talking to somebody versus when they have their quiet time and you're like, go to find a quiet space and answer these questions truthfully for me.
Correct.
That you're going to have vision into more than if you were just talking and let's get it done.
Yes, absolutely. And like in that questionnaire, like I ask, like for me, if someone says, like, I'm not good at thinking of words, which is why I'm not a writer. So if someone said, how do you want your website to feel? How do you want people to feel? I just freeze. Like, I'm like, I don't know. What are words? I have no clue where to begin. So I give people like a list of words either to choose from or then they can add to it. But I think it like helps to just start thinking about the options so they can pick from this list, or they usually add a couple of their own. And then I also ask like about their actual clients before we even get to that. So it like puts them into their client's headspace. Like, what am I thinking about? Why am I actually coming to this website? Because what am I looking for? How am I feeling right now? So it's all part of the process.
That's awesome. And clearly it works because your websites are beautiful.
Thank you.
What else do we need to know? So, and also here's another thing I just picked up about you, and is that when you were talking, first you got stuck on the words, and
Yes.
then you started talking a little bit about colors and fabrics. And then
Right.
you were able to flow. Like I can see that you think in colors and textures.
Yes, totally. But I don't always have the words for them, which is why I'm like, it feels
Yes.
like this. Exactly. 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 Yeah, that's such an interesting, thank you for that observation. That's really
Yeah. So
interesting
is there
and very
anything
true.
else we should know? Because it is an investment, right? And
Yes.
I know that you do VIP intensives for the most
Yes.
part, and on 1-day websites. And
Yep. And week.
what else would people need to know? Like, okay, I'm thinking about it. Now she's got me thinking about it. Yes, I don't want to have any tire kickers anymore. I only want dream
Right.
clients coming to my site. I only want really aligned people on my discovery calls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say once you even have that seed planted, I would start reaching out to a couple designers. And here's why. Because designers do more than design. Well, I guess I should speak only for myself. I can't speak for everybody, but at least some of the other designers I know are also in this group. We don't just design, right? Like I even put in my bio, like I'm your cheerleader, I'm your guide, I'm going to help with tech. Like, so we're not just designers. So we help with that planning process. Like if you need a photographer, ooh, I have a list for you. If you need a copywriter, I have another awesome list for you. So like we can be your almost event planner, but for your website, like we can help you connect to all the people. So if you start talking to us early on, you're again to reduce overwhelm, you're not going to feel rushed because you'll have time to get photos done if you want to maybe do an intensive day with a copywriter. Like we're going to take you through the entire process. And if you don't want to hire out those things, then I give you suggestions for how you're going to DIY. Like I give you copy prompts, I give you suggestions on how to take some photos, that kind of stuff, like a headshot or something. Um, so I would say start earlier, start talking to a designer earlier than you think you need to, because you don't necessarily need to like sign on the dotted line and give me all your money. But like a strategy session is going to plant lots of seeds and things for you to think about and plan. So that's one big thing, is start talking to a designer earlier than you think you need to. And the other is get clear on your business goals, because
Hmm.
that is one thing. I mean, yes, I do end up doing some like business coaching a little bit, but that's not my official hat. And you know your business best. And my goal as a designer is to help you grow your business. So if you don't know what you're growing to or how you're growing, then I can't help as well as I would like to. So I would say that's really important, is to take that time and space and work with a business coach if you have one, or do whatever helps you, but get clear on your business goals.
I love that. I know that that's been a challenge for some of the people who come to me as well, because I'll say, where does it describe your services on your website? Or how, when you're on a call with somebody, what are you offering them?
Right.
Right? Like it's right. Again, Donald Miller, you confuse, you lose.
Yep.
And if you don't know what you're offering,
Exactly.
they're not going to know what you're offering. And that's why I love what you do, because the processes, right? It's all about the processes, so you can be free to be creative.
Yes.
So good.
And I think along those lines, it's okay if you have multiple services. I can help, because that's something that people come to me a lot, like, well, I do this and I do this and I do this and I don't know what to do, and like I'm again very good at being like, okay, that's great. Like I can see how all the pieces can come together, but you have to know what those pieces are. So yeah.
Right. Right. And that's sometimes the hardest part. And to your point, right, to all of us, I often say this, right? And this is a little bit different in the business world or entrepreneurship. but you've got to have someone who's going to give you advice, who's not emotionally tied to you. So
Yes.
coaching is helpful, and having an expert like you help through a website thing is so helpful. And I often talk about it with let's say my coach clients, is that, in the olden days, we would go to the village square and we would get advice from the aunties and the nanas
Right.
and the bubbies, right? And or we
Exactly.
would go to dinner and all the aunties and nanas and bubbies would just give us advice. But
Whether
we
we
don't
want it
get
or
that
not.
now.
Right.
What's that?
I said whether we wanted it or not.
Whether we wanted it or not, but we were getting some
Yes.
advice, and now we kind of have to go out and search for it sometimes.
True. Very, very true. And
And
I love that point about the like non-attached person, because it's different when it's your spouse or your best friend.
yeah,
Because, and I also think people that aren't also running their own business sometimes put their projections of like their fears, like, oh, but how are you going to do that? That would be scary. And and it's like, no, but all these other people are figuring it out. It's not as scary as you're making it seem. So yeah, so I think that bit about the non-attached person is key.
I think so too. Yeah. And somebody who's helped other people like you in the past.
Mhm. Yeah, totally.
Well, as I knew it would, our time is going by so quickly, but I
I
want to
know.
let's let people know how you work with people and
Yes.
how they can learn more about you.
Sure. Awesome. So I know I could like just chat with you for hours. So I work with people one-on-one for website design, and I offer day intensives, and I also offer essentially about 10 days, because I only work with one client at a time. So I am focused. It is wonderful to just get in the zone of one client, fully dedicate my time and energy for them for that 10 days or so.
That's amazing.
And so that starts with a strategy session, where again, I encourage you to schedule that way out, even as you're starting to think, because it ends up serving as a good planning time. And then, yeah, I take it from there, proposal, and then laying out all the homework very clearly. And then that 10 days is just like, we're in it together. And then you've got your awesome website ready to go. So
Sounds
yeah,
like
so
a
if you,
dream after this other experience that I just had with another
yes,
designer. That is a dream. 10 days and done.
yeah, it is very, very great. I will say my clients have really seemed to enjoy not wondering like, when's the next round coming? What do I owe you? Do you owe me something? Like there's none of that confusion anymore. You just know exactly what's happening every single day, which is, there's just something very, it's like an exhale. Like it's just nice.
Yeah, I like that, like an exhale.
So yeah.
Awesome.
And yeah, so if you want to stay in touch, I'm on Instagram and Facebook. And if you would like more information about things to think about before you're hiring a designer, I have a freebie for you, of course. So go to chantelledavisgray.com/rise above. All one word, rise
We'll
above.
put that link. We'll put that link.
Yes.
Writing it down. Awesome. 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 There was something else I was going to ask you. I think that I have it all, how to get in touch with you. We'll put the links in the show notes and in the chat here. Throw your questions into the Rise Above Noise group here. Chantelle, I know, checks in there occasionally.
Yes, I do.
In particular for the next day or so to see if you have any questions.
Absolutely.
Totally recommend. Oh, I know what it was. I don't think once during our conversation we said Squarespace.
You're right. Whoops. Yeah, I specialize in Squarespace. Squarespace is my jam. I have been working on it for many, many years. So I love Squarespace, and that is what I design on.
Good, good. I'm glad we clarified that.
Thank you.
I've done that up top. That was
That's funny.
my thing. Yeah.
Yes.
So good. All right, Chantelle, I will see you another
you.
time. And again,
Yes.
anybody listening, if you have any questions, hit me up, hit Chantelle up. And I'm just really grateful for the community that we have and how we all support each other.
Me too. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this week's Rise Above Noise Spotlight. Did you grab some takeaways from our talk? I did. I mean, I always do when I'm talking to Chantelle, but today I learned that it's important to start talking to a designer earlier than you even think you need to, like way earlier, so that you get to put the pieces into place in a thoughtful way. And you need to be thinking about what you want someone to feel when they're on your website. In taking those things into consideration and working with a talented web designer such as Chantelle, you can spend less time talking to people who are not your aligned clients. And you're going to, right, you're going to filter out those non-dream clients, and you get to really shine in front of the people you are here to serve. As you're growing, you want your website to do more for you. You want it to collect aligned leads. So you can see our Rise Above Noise community is revolutionizing how service professionals show up in our marketing so that we can make a real difference in the world. I truly believe that our only true currency in this life is our time and our energy. As we're working at building our businesses, we really need to practice efficiency and flow to set up systems that allow us to shine in our own zone of genius without sucking up our precious time and energy. Now more than ever, our world needs more transformation creators. We need our transformation creators to be successful in our ventures, right? To show up in service and make a real difference in our world. Thank you for being in my community. Thank you for joining me today. And I look forward to seeing you within the Rise Above Noise community. And I also look forward to sharing another Rise Above Noise spotlight with you.